Imagine walking into an enormous library, but instead of books, the shelves are stacked with films from every era, genre, and country. Some you've heard of, most you haven't. Now, picture closing your eyes, spinning around, and plucking a random film from the shelf. Would you end up with a cult classic, a forgotten masterpiece, or a glorious misfire? That is the very spirit of our cinematic adventure today. We are rolling the dice and letting fate choose our next movie experience. In an age of algorithms, our viewing habits are often shaped by recommendations that reinforce what we already like. It's easy to stay within our comfort zones, sticking to familiar stories or following the latest trends. But when we introduce genuine randomness, we open ourselves up to discovery. We give the spotlight to films that rarely get the attention they deserve, and sometimes those hidden gems become new favorites. To select our film, we used a digital randomizer, compiling a massive list of movies ranked between 200 and 5,000 on IMDb. With a single click, the randomizer spun through the possibilities and landed on one title. No bias, no filtering, just pure chance. And today, the dice have rolled, and they've landed on a film from 1997. A film that asks what it means to be human when humanity can be engineered. We're talking about the quietly brilliant science fiction drama, Gattaca. So prepare to journey into a future that feels unnervingly close to our present. Let's surrender to the unknown and explore a story that challenges our perceptions of destiny, potential, and the unshakable power of the human spirit. At the heart of Gattaca lies a chillingly plausible vision of the near future. This is a world where society is divided not by class or wealth, but by genetics. From birth, individuals are categorized as either valid or invalid. The valids are genetically engineered for perfection, destined for society's most prestigious roles. The invalids, conceived naturally, are relegated to menial jobs, their lives dictated by the flaws found in their DNA. Our story follows Vincent Freeman, an invalid born with a heart defect and a life expectancy of just over 30 years. His dream is to travel to the stars, a privilege reserved exclusively for the genetic elite. But Vincent is a dreamer forged in defiance. He refuses to accept the hand he was dealt. He spends his youth pushing his body to its limits, trying to overcome the weaknesses encoded in his very cells. To achieve his dream, Vincent devises a desperate and dangerous plan. He assumes the identity of Jerome Morrow, a former swimming star who is genetically perfect, but has been paralyzed from the waist down in an accident. Jerome provides Vincent with the genetic material he needs to fool the system: blood, urine, hair, and skin cells. In this meticulously controlled world, Vincent becomes a borrowed ladder, climbing on the rungs of another man's superior DNA. As Jerome, Vincent secures a position at the Gattaca Aerospace Corporation, the very institution that would have rejected him outright. He excels, quickly becoming the top candidate for an upcoming mission to Saturn's moon, Titan. But his carefully constructed life is thrown into jeopardy when a mission director is murdered within the facility. The subsequent investigation threatens to expose him at every turn. An eyelash, a stray hair, a single fingerprint could unravel his entire existence. The tension escalates as Vincent must navigate daily genetic screenings, evade a persistent detective, and manage a budding romance with a coworker, Irene Cassini. Irene is a valid, yet she carries her own genetic imperfection, a risk of heart failure that holds her back. Their relationship forces both to question whether a person is truly defined by their genetic makeup or by the strength of their will. The plot's heartbeat quickens as the launch date approaches, turning every moment into a high-stakes test of nerve and deception. It's a quiet thriller, where the suspense comes not from explosions, but from the constant, terrifying risk of being found out. Now, let's step into the heart of this story and meet the unforgettable characters who bring Gattaca's world to life. The film's power rests on the shoulders of three perfectly cast individuals, each wrestling with the concept of perfection in their own way. First, we have our protagonist, Vincent Freeman, portrayed by Ethan Hawke. Vincent is the soul of the film. He isn't a hero in the traditional sense, he's a quiet imposter driven by a single burning ambition. Hawke masterfully conveys Vincent's constant anxiety, the weight of living a lie, but also his unwavering determination. You see it in the way he scrubs his skin raw each morning to erase his identity, and in the fire in his eyes as he looks toward the stars. He represents the triumph of the human spirit over genetic determinism, proving that no gene can measure a person's heart. Then there is Jerome Eugene Morrow in a career-defining performance by Jude Law. Jerome is the tragic counterpoint to Vincent. He is the man who has everything, the perfect genetic code, yet feels he has nothing. Bitter, cynical, and confined to a wheelchair, he sees his own wasted potential in Vincent's success. But as the story progresses, their relationship deepens from a business arrangement into a genuine, complex friendship. Law's performance is a study in restrained pain and dark humor. Jerome's journey from a broken man to Vincent's greatest ally is arguably the emotional core of the film, culminating in an act of profound sacrifice. And finally, there is Irene Cassini, played with a subtle grace by Uma Thurman. Irene embodies the psychological burden of living in a genetically obsessed society. Despite being a valid, she is haunted by a minor heart condition that prevents her from achieving her own spacefaring dreams. She is initially drawn to the perfect genetic profile of Jerome, but she truly falls for the imperfect, determined soul of Vincent. Her character arc is about learning to see beyond the numbers and the probabilities, and to value the intangible qualities that make someone truly exceptional. Together, these three characters create a powerful narrative triangle, each challenging our ideals of strength, weakness, and what it truly means to be worthy. Now, let's lift the curtain and explore 5 fascinating facts that reveal the hidden layers behind the making of Gattaca. Sometimes, the story behind the film is just as compelling as the one on screen. First, the film's title itself is a piece of genetic code. Gattaca is composed entirely of the letters G, A, T, and C, which are the 4 nucleobases of DNA: guanine, adenine, thymine, and cytosine. This clever naming convention is woven throughout the film, grounding its futuristic themes in the very real science of genetics. It's a subtle, brilliant detail that sets the tone before the first scene even begins. Second, the film's distinct retro-futuristic look wasn't created on expensive sound stages. To achieve a timeless aesthetic, director Andrew Niccol opted to shoot in real locations that already felt like another era. The most prominent of these is the Marin County Civic Center in California, a stunning building designed by the legendary architect Frank Lloyd Wright. Its long, sterile corridors and sweeping curves perfectly captured the cold, impersonal world of Gattaca. Third, while Gattaca was a box office disappointment upon its release, it has since found a remarkable second life. The film has been lauded by scientists and bioethicists for its thoughtful exploration of genetic engineering. In fact, a 2011 report from NASA named Gattaca the most plausible science fiction film ever made, praising its realistic depiction of a future where genetic screening could become commonplace. It has become required viewing in many science and ethics courses around the world. Fourth, the chemistry between Vincent and Irene felt so authentic on screen for a very good reason. Actors Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman met for the first time on the set of Gattaca.
They fell in love during production, married a year after the film's release, and were together for 7 years. This real-life romance adds a poignant layer to their characters' on-screen relationship, which is all about looking past surfaces to find a deeper connection. And our fifth fact: Jude Law's character, Jerome, has a name that is deeply symbolic. In the original script, his name was not Jerome Morrow, but Eugene. The name Eugene is derived from Greek meaning well-born or of good origins, a perfect descriptor for a genetically engineered individual. He is given the middle name Morrow to signify the future he is providing for Vincent. His character is a living embodiment of good genes, making his tragic fate all the more ironic. When a film lingers in your mind long after the credits roll, it's because it has achieved something more than just entertainment. Gattaca is one of those films. Its lasting impression comes from its profound and increasingly relevant themes. It was released decades ago, yet its central questions about genetic engineering, discrimination, and free will versus determinism feel more urgent today than ever before. In an era of CRISPR technology and commercial DNA testing, the world of Gattaca no longer feels like distant science fiction, but like a potential blueprint for our future. The movie's influence extends beyond its thematic resonance.
Its visual style, a blend of 1950s noir and sleek futurism, has inspired countless other films, creating a look that is both timeless and unsettling. But its greatest legacy is its powerful, central message: there is no gene for the human spirit. It's a deeply optimistic statement in a pessimistic world, a reminder that our potential is not limited by our biology, but by the scope of our ambition and the strength of our will. The film has stood the test of time, evolving from a box office sleeper into a revered cult classic. It reminds us that a story's true value isn't always measured in opening weekend numbers, but in its ability to spark conversation, challenge our assumptions, and inspire us to look beyond the labels society places upon us. It matters because it tells a fundamentally human story about overcoming the odds, set against a backdrop that forces us to confront the ethical dilemmas of our own advancing technology. And now, it's your turn. We've explored a world of genetic destiny, met characters who defied their own code, and uncovered the fascinating stories behind the film's creation. Of the characters we met, the defiant Vincent, the tragic Jerome, or the conflicted Irene, who resonated with you the most, and why? Or perhaps one of the behind-the-scenes facts caught your attention, like the NASA endorsement or the origin of the film's title. Think about what part of this story stood out to you. Were you inspired by Vincent's relentless pursuit of an impossible dream? Did you feel for Jerome, the man who was perfect on paper but broken inside? Or did a fact about the film's production change the way you see it? Share your choice in the comments below. Let us know what part of Gattaca's story you'll be thinking about long after the credits roll. We can't wait to read your thoughts and continue the conversation.